Hello and welcome to the latest AEC TechTV show. My name is Aarni Heiskanen and I'm a construction innovation agent based in Helsinki, Finland.
And hello, I'm Paul Wilkinson. I'm a technology consultant, a writer, blogger and freelance journalist, and I live in London.
AEC TechTV is our weekly video magazine show looking at the latest technologies used in the architecture, engineering and construction industries.
And coming up in today's show, I take a quick look at two construction technology announcements and look forward to a Construction Leaders Summit. Aarni talks to Fred Mills of the B1M YouTube channel about why the construction industry is great. We have a case study and discussion about using a collaborative 3D tool, Xuver, for design team and client interaction. Lauri Lemmenlehti talks about a participatory urban planning project in Helsinki using the Unity 3D game engine for visualization. And Aarni has been attending the WDBE event and is looking forward to two forthcoming conferences. Earlier this year, I talked to Evercam, a Dublin, Ireland-based company that delivers site cam services. With many project stakeholders unable to visit sites during the COVID-19 pandemic, the company's webcams help users see what is happening on their sites. Captured images can also be aggregated into time-lapse sequences showing how projects have developed over longer periods of time. And Evercam is also developing artificial intelligence solutions which automate monitoring processes. For example, Evercam can be used to automatically count the number of vehicles moving in and out of a construction site. Their latest development is an integration with Autodesk BIM 360 so that users of the collaboration platform can access live Evercam cameras by simply setting up a BIM 360 partner card in their project home dashboards. The goal is to integrate high-quality construction cameras and 360-degree VR imagery into a common smart platform shared across the project team. In Holland, Royal Heiskanen DHV Digital has unveiled a new hazard intelligence software platform for flood, drought, fires and other climate-related hazards. It says the service will help multinationals, insurance companies and investors worldwide to better respond to risks and unforeseen events and to improve their business continuity. The platform has officially been unveiled today and is now available to customers. Neil Schellenberg, Director of Royal Heiskanen DHV Digital, says the platform provides insights into climate-related operational and strategic risks, identifies hazards, understands and forecasts their impact. This opens up a wealth of insights for insurance companies and as well as multinationals with many facilities or complex supply chains. NBS is one of the UK's leading construction information services companies, capturing information from construction product manufacturers for use by designers and specifiers, and also managing the Uniclass classification system. On 13th-14th of October, NBS is hosting a Construction Leaders Summit. This, in my opinion, is a conference that justifies the use of the word summit. It has a stellar roster of speakers, including a UK government minister, a former chief construction advisor, major figures involved in modernisation and digitisation of the industry, and an eminent architect who led Autodesk's BIM developments for several years. Nadeem Zahawi, Parliamentary Under-Secretary of State for Industry, is going to be talking about construction and political change and how it will influence future policy. Dame Judith Hackett will cover the draft safety bill, upcoming regulatory changes, the golden thread, and discuss the impact they'll have on the industry. Paul Morell was the UK government's first chief construction advisor. He had a brief to champion and move the industry towards a more coordinated approach to affordable, sustainable construction. Mark Farmer authored the Farmer Review, also known as Modernise or Die. In 2019, he was appointed the government's champion for modern methods of construction in house building. And architect Phil Bernstein is also a technologist and educator. Formerly the Vice President at Autodesk, he set the company's future vision and strategy for BIM technology. The NBS Construction Leaders Summit is online and free to attend on the 13th and 14th of October.
Thank you, Paul. We are now including more news items in our show, and let's hear from Paul about some of his chosen news stories.
Next in today's AEC TechTV, the B1M was recently named as one of the Sunday Times top 20 YouTube channels. And Aarni spoke earlier this year to Fred Mills about showing why the construction industry is great.
I'm here with Fred Mills of the B1M.
Hi, thanks for having me.
And you gave a wonderful presentation today here at InfraBIM Open.
Thank you.
And I wonder, you mentioned about the industry being the most important in the world, the construction industry, actually. And you also said that we are not great in communicating our greatness, in a way. So why is that? Why do you think?
I don't know why that is. I mean, as I said, we are a phenomenal industry. For me, we are the best industry in the world. What we do in this sector shapes the lives of billions of people on this planet, you know, from the home that you wake up in, to the school you send your children to the hospital you go to when you're not well, to the transport infrastructure you use to get around. This industry underpins everything we do on this planet.
Yeah.
It's a phenomenal industry. It's incredibly visual and exciting, and we do need to shout about it in a much more vocal way. I guess really people in construction are quite humble. We're quite task orientated. We like to focus on getting the job done, and we don't like too much praise. But I think we need to change that. I think it's time to show the whole world just how great this industry is.
By the way, why is the company called B1M? Is it something to do with BIM?
It is. So originally we started really trying to celebrate building information modelling. So I used to work for a main contractor in the UK, or a construction company. I saw BIM as really an opportunity to change the industry and make it better, to improve the way we were working and make it better, to deliver better buildings, work more collaboratively. But it struck me that to really learn about BIM, you had to go out of your way to attend events after work, or go to shows in the evening, or download really boring PDF documents and read them in your spare time. So I started putting some useful how-to videos about BIM on YouTube in my spare time, just literally explaining what BIM was and how it worked. We called it the B1M because it was the BIM 1 million, and the idea was to try and get BIM to 1 million people. It's obviously broadened out quite a bit since then. We've got a lot more broader content, a lot more people watching, which is fantastic. And it's one of those things, the acronym just kind of stuck. So like a lot of broadcasters, CNN, ITV, BBC, obviously we're in that league. It just kind of stuck.
Awesome. Yeah. What makes a good video? What would you say?
It's a good shout. I was still trying to work that out, really. I think the big thing is a good story. You know, if you've got a good story at the core, and you've then brought in the key elements to tell that in the right way, audience engagement, good visuals, well-written scripts, interesting title, all of those things are factors. And in the work that B1M does, we're kind of led quite a lot by the platforms that we're using. So on Facebook, you've got 3 seconds to engage people. On YouTube, you've got just 8 seconds to engage people. So you have to have that stuff I just mentioned, you know, good story, good storytelling technique. But it comes down to great title, great thumbnail, consistent approach, playing into the algorithm, building up traction over time. All of those things matter. And as you can see from our channel, some are more successful than others.
So consistency is one key element, I think, because people are producing one video per year or something like that, but that's not enough nowadays, I guess.
It depends what you're trying to do. So obviously we're trying to build a YouTube channel that changes the world in terms of construction. So for us, doing one video a week is what we had to do. On YouTube, consistency is really important. People want to know what they're getting every week in a consistent format from a consistent person in the same way, to the same quality. I think, you know, for construction firms, there is a need to definitely share more of what they're doing. It doesn't have to be weekly, but I think doing it in a way that would be engaging to people outside of the industry, not just in the industry, is really important. We sometimes make things quite boring.
So you have a huge audience, at least in the industry, I would say, but your message is mainly to people who are not in the industry, so the public at large. And what kind of feedback have you received from that audience?
Well, it's great. I mean, the audience is kind of 50-50, so it's both. So we do have quite a lot of big industry following. We have quite a mainstream following as well. But the best thing about the mainstream following is that I have, and just within my kind of personal circle, you know, of my life, I have family and friends say to me after work, "Oh, I saw that thing you did on smog eating buildings. That's amazing. I didn't know they could do that." And I'm like, well, yeah, that's what my industry does. That's what we do in construction every day. That's what this is about. Or people saying, you know, I didn't know that area of New York was being, revitalised like that and regenerated like that, it's amazing to see what construction can do to improve people's lives. And it's when you hear those stories, you think, okay, this is making a difference.
You've made a dent in the universe.
Absolutely, a small one.
Yeah, but we know that we need more young talent in the industry, and I think that your videos are a good marketing for the industry. And but once somebody, let's say a young person, has seen your videos and is really interested, what should they do next, or what should the companies actually do when the talent, the young people who have seen your videos, they come to the companies and see what they have to offer? How should the companies take from your videos on?
That's a huge question. I think there's a lot of factors here. Partly, in terms of changing the perception, we're not just doing that exclusively among young people. We're trying to do that amongst the established population as well, because a lot of the young people who want to go into construction get dissuaded from doing it by their careers mentors or by their parents or by their teachers, because they don't think it's a proper career path. So changing that, first of all, is important. I think it's really key that when people have made the decision to come into construction, they actually get a good experience when they come into the industry. Some people join the industry, see what it's like, see the adversity, see the heavily male-dominated kind of gender balance, and think, this isn't for me, I'm going to leave. And I think really that comes down to quite a lot of companies have a kind of established status quo approach to how they run things. And actually we need to be thinking, what do millennials want these days? What attracts them to come to a workplace? What values do they have? What working hours do they want to do? All that kind of stuff is really important to bring people into the industry, as well as tackling things like, as I said, risk transfer down the supply chain, confrontation through the forms of contract that we have, the horrendous gender imbalance. All those things will all play a part in not just attracting people to the industry, but also retaining them once they come in. So we could probably do an hour documentary on that question. Well, a good summary, rather.
That's an important question. So what's in the future for B1M?
Well, as I said earlier, our goal is to fundamentally change the perception of construction on planet Earth, which is a huge task. It's a ridiculously ambitious task, but it's one we get up every day and fight towards. We're at a stage now where we've had just under 200 million people have now watched a B1M video globally. So we're 20% of the way to getting to 1 billion people. But for us, that's what we want to do. We want to get to the stage where people choose to watch documentaries about this incredible industry over the latest Netflix series or over the latest stuff on Amazon, which may sound ridiculous, but that's what we're trying to do.
Okay. So, and if somebody has not yet found your channel, where can they find it?
Thank you for that gift of a question. So it's theb1m.com, but obviously if you go to YouTube and type in B1M or the B1M, there's lots of stuff there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for the
Thank you for having me. It's been great to see you.
Okay.
Cheers.
Thanks.
That was Aarni talking to Fred Mills of the B1M YouTube channel. Next we have a case study about using the collaborative 3D tool Xuver for design team and client interaction.
This is the reference case of the canopy and how Xuver can actually add to the process and make communication and presentation a lot easier. With me is one of our customers. It's Gavin Crump, and I think it's good for you, Gavin, to introduce yourself and your organization a little bit.
Yeah, sure. So thanks for having me in the session, Lauren. It's good to be here and to show people Xuver. My name is Gavin. I run a consulting business called BIM Guru, but a lot of people know me through my YouTube channel, the Aussie BIM Guru, where I share all sorts of tutorials about how to use software and BIM, and this is actually how I met Xuver as well. They approached me and let me know about their software, and since then I've actually join their affiliate network and become more involved in sort of exploring their software, and look forward to showing you, I guess, a case study alongside Lauren's about how Xuver could have helped me on one of my projects as a sort of mock-up case study. So yeah, I guess we can probably jump in if you like, or that's it.
Well, it might be good to maybe explain a little bit about what the situation was like. In this case that we're going to be showing here, we had a situation. Maybe you can explain the situation and compare like the traditional solution to the way you solved it with Xuver.
Yeah, sure. So the situation we're going to show you is essentially a mock-up of a coordination challenge I faced on a project quite late in the design to construction process, where we had a coordination issue that emerged when a construction detail was altered in a shop drawing essentially and sort of missed in the model coordination process. And the real challenge was that the models were all quite fragmented, and it was very rare that we saw them in a common environment that was easy to access. So we were using programs like Navisworks to federate the model. And if anyone's used programs like that before, you'll know it's quite hard to look at some of the details inside elements. In this case, we'll be looking inside a canopy with some steel structure. And a detail was overlooked where we couldn't actually accommodate a steel structure within a canopy zone, which meant we had to coordinate a less ideal outcome with a thicker canopy element. And the client, of course, wasn't really able to access these models either, so they didn't really have a full understanding of the outcome that was going to come out of this. So I guess we can show sort of how Xuver might have helped us actually communicate with like a client or a builder or a contractor all in the model at the same time in a much more sort of easy manner. So we can jump into the Xuver model if you like and sort of
let's jump in.
Sort of show that. Excellent. All right, I'll jump into Xuver. So I'm in Xuver here, and I guess you can see Lauren's here as well. Maybe just move around a little bit. There you go. So you can see we're both actually in the same session, live on the web. In this case, we've got 3 canopies set up that essentially mock up the 3 scenarios that we dealt with. So in the middle here, I might just activate my laser pointer tool so I can actually point at things. So now I'm pointing at this beam, so you should be able to see that, Lawrence. I think you can see that laser pointer.
Actually I can prove it to you.
Yeah, there we go. So Lawrence has got his own laser pointer too, which is actually really hard to do in a model. It's hard to sometimes talk about the same things together because you don't know what you're pointing at or talking about. But in this case, we have this middle canopy, which was like I designed intent to have a purlin system sitting in line of some outriggers that framed up a canopy that was ideally like quite slender and thin, and quite a nice element from a design perspective. The challenge was that the contractors actually proposed a top-mounted purlin system instead. I believe there were some engineering reasons they did this. It might have been to do with the steel type they had to use as well. That did require a top detail instead. And this is more or less what the models would have been like at the time when we sort of realized that something wasn't quite right. But we realized quite late in the picture, so we didn't really have the opportunity to double back to our designed intent. So we actually ended up having to change our canopy detail and our canopy volume here. And it was quite difficult to really make the client aware of just how this really felt to experience from the pedestrian's perspective. So we didn't really have a software where we could immerse them quite actively in the process. But if you come over to the final canopy on the right, this really was the result of the coordination. And whilst it seems like a fairly simple solution, the challenge really here was the communication of how different this element was to perceive. And you can see here we've ghosted out the canopy itself, so you can sort of really understand why the structure dictated the outcome. So in this case, this is also a really handy visual that some programs can't always easily achieve. And I guess the great thing about Xuver too is you can support some materials and give a bit more context to your model, whereas a lot of other programs, for example Navisworks, whilst it's great for basic coordination and clash detection, it's not necessarily a very visually appealing program. So that's another nice thing about this model too. It sort of gives the client a bit more context and makes them a bit happier with what they see as well. Yeah, so it's quite a useful little case study, and I think that something like Xuver would have really given us that context we needed and that experience that we could immerse the client in. And also we were all based in different areas of Australia. We weren't just all in the same city. So it would have been much easier to have something that was web-based that we could all access regardless of where we are, which is really the beauty of Xuver, I guess, is that you can really access it anywhere you can access the web, and you've got a computer, you can jump on board. So yeah, it's quite handy.
So what you're saying is pretty much you took all noise out of the communication and
just streamline that process.
Redesign canopy.
Yeah, I think this would have been a much more fun and dynamic environment as well. I think it would have really been a more engaging way to show like a model to a client. Like one thing I like about Xuver is it is much more about just looking at the model itself, not getting too focused on complex user interfaces that a lot of programs do have sort of surrounding them. There's not too many viewers, I find, that really simplify the process down for the end user. And Xuver's really good at just focusing them on navigating the model, and also as you move through the model in Xuver, I find that like the spatial dynamics of how the model adjusts to sort of frame your experience is much more dynamic than a lot of other viewers. Sometimes, you'll walk into a room in a viewer and the ceiling will go through your head. I find Xuver is really good at sort of reframing the perspective of how you occupy that space. Like, for example, when I go between the interior to the exterior, you can see there's a bit of a perspective shift that really frames the viewer a bit more dynamically when you're inside the building. So I do find in some of those more complex projects with changes in level, awkward space transitions, I find Xuver is really good at also sort of framing that experience a little bit more naturally, and it makes the client feel a little bit less uncomfortable when they're navigating the model, I think.
Does it make a difference for the smoothness of the actual process that it's also available on any mobile device?
Oh yeah, I mean that's like amazing that you can access it on any device as well. Because I guess a lot of our clients don't really have the really heavy computers that we typically run in AEC. So a lot of my clients, when I've tried to share certain files with them, sometimes they either won't have the program they need, or just to be able to run the experience is quite hard for them. Whereas you can see here, this is a very smooth process. And I have dealt with a few Xuver models of different sizes, and I've found that the speed is pretty optimal in most scenarios, even when it's looking at a lot of elements on the screen at once. So compared to a lot of other viewers and the requirements you need to run them, I found Xuver quite smooth and able to be sort of just picked up by a user that has very little CAD or BIM experience. They're really just here to sort of view the model, and I find that really simplifies and streamlines the process for them as well, and makes it a little bit less intimidating and also ultimately less frustrating for them as well.
In the meantime, I opened a layer structure in my Xuver model. What you see here is all the layer structure. Obviously, in this case, it's pretty basic, but you can actually show and hide all the structural bearings of the covers to quickly talk just about the structure and not be distracted by any other means. Obviously, you use Xuver as well for structural models and collaboration about things that aren't necessarily visible in the first place and hidden behind walls and ceilings. Is this something you find useful in daily practice?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, sometimes the viewing programs are quite hard to interact with at a level of layer control. Sometimes what you see is what you get. So to be able to strip away the walls and sort of expose some of those coordination-based elements is very useful, especially if you can expose the surfaces above ceilings and also surfaces and structure inside walls. They usually are quite important to review some of those more complex coordination challenges. You can see here, for example, with the canopies that we've ghosted out, I mean, to be able to turn those off or to set their material before you enter the experience, that really does give a lot more context to the viewer of the model, and I think it really helps guide that discussion a lot more directly as well.
What you're saying is using the collaborative features as a voice integration with a voice module, laser pointers to really point out things, takes noise out of the communication.
Oh yeah, definitely. It streamlines the process for sure. Yeah.
And if you were to sum it up, like what Xuver does for your daily practice, what would you say that it really brings to the table and is the benefit for your company?
Yeah, I mean, I think the main benefit that I receive is that I now have a much more smooth way to share models with people that aren't necessarily familiar with how to navigate and operate a BIM program or a more advanced CAD program. The approachability is brilliant. I've even used it a few times just to communicate with some clients and just say this is the model and this is the problem, and literally bring them into the model rather than necessarily have to send them screenshots and try to build the experience for them using a lot of sort of outdated methods like taking screen grabs and doing renders and usually very flat and unengaging experiences. But to give them something like Xuver that they can just pick up straight away and you pretty much just give them the 4 directional keys and off they go, is much more engaging, and I think it also makes the model a more important tool for them as well. Whereas sometimes a lot of BIM professionals do struggle to really give value to the model for the client beyond the the end model handover. If you can give that design or work in progress model more value and more importance to the client, I think that also just really gives value to the overall point of why we're modeling this building in such detail. So I found it really useful as a communication tool predominantly.
Yeah, so it really works and brings helps you use a very customer-centric approach in sharing and collaborating with your model. actually speeding up the process and really benefit the final design, as I understand.
I think also that it's worth mentioning just how easy and quick it is to generate a Xuver experience. I mean, I've timed myself putting these sort of models together before, and you can do it in about probably 5 minutes straight out of your native authoring program to the web. So to be able to have such a quick front-to-end experience of that as well is really valuable. Some other alternatives, they can take anywhere between an hour to even more to generate some of those experiences. You've got to customize a couple of aspects in some programs, whereas Xuver I felt is a much more direct, I just need to communicate right now, and you can get them into the model with you, in a very short amount of time.
Okay. I think we need to thank you very much for your sharing your experience, and hopefully it's inspiring for other people. And yeah, let's wrap it up. Thanks.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing what I can do with Xuver in future and how it develops, and thanks for your time.
That was Lawrence Koch and Gavin Crump talking about Xuver. Next, Lauri Lemmenlehti talks about a participatory urban planning project in Helsinki using the Unity 3D gaming engine for visualization.
Hi AEC TV viewers, my name is Lauri Lemmenlehti. I'm a landscape architect working for Forum Virium Helsinki, a smart city innovation company owned by the city of Helsinki in Finland. I'm here to present you the Bruno Granholm Square project, which is a participatory urban planning project with strong digital and virtual reality aspects built on Unity 3D game engine. The site, which this project was based on, is an old industrial railway service hangar close to the city center and is being developed for new residential, office, and cultural spaces. You can move freely around the model, which is modeled on a high detail level on about 50,000 square meters or roughly 12 acres. The surrounding city model was sourced from the city of Helsinki's point cloud model. By controlling the position of the simulated sun, the time frame of the simulation is controlled. The plant life and climate are dependent on the temporal situation. Trees and bushes change with autumn coming, and rain comes down as snow in the winter months. You can control the weather on 4 levels of raininess, windiness, cloudiness, and fogginess. The plant life on the site have temporal versions of 5 years and 20 years growth. So you can analyze the effects of growth and seasonality of the trees. You can easily compare different planning options. The existing situation was modeled with 2 different planning options that the stakeholders could change in real time. In Bruno Granholm Square, the lack of greenery was considered as a problem by the public. The National Nature Resources Center provided information on the research ecosystem services provided by the existing and planned trees on the site. Built on Unity 3D game engine, the software facilitated 2 different ways of experiencing the software. The first-person mode used by keyboard and mouse, and the virtual reality headset and controller mode. All the features of the software can be used in both modes. What the virtual reality side provides is a more immersive experience true to real life. You can control the sun and the weather from inside the virtual model. As a special feature, a virtual camera was provided so users can take photos from the inside of the experience that are gathered as collection on a board, and the photos can be commented. This provides more reference for the planners as they go through the stakeholder feedback. The project was presented in an urban planning pop-up on the site in November of 2019. The results were positive, and the feedback was used in the following development of the area planning. The City of Helsinki is committed to research new digital tools in urban planning and communicating those plans to citizens. You can follow the Smart City Development projects from our website at www.forumvirium.fi.
That was Lauri Lemmenlehti. In our final news section, Aarni reflects on this week's WDBE event and looks forward to some upcoming events.
Thanks, Paul. World Summit on Digital Built Environment WDBE 2020 took place online on the last 2 days of September. It was a virtual event in a virtual environment. I had a chance to chat with the organizers in Helsinki and Tallinn right after the event had ended. Here's the short interview. So, hello everybody. I'm here with the organizers of WDBE 2020, and the event is actually now almost over, I would say. And I would like to hear how you felt as organizers, how it went, because of course we will get feedback from the audience in the future. But maybe Mimo, you could start.
Great. I mean, I think this was a really kind of like nice experience in that sense that there was a lot of excellent speakers. I mean, the keynotes were fascinating. It was a lot of new things what we learned. Then the community sessions, I mean, we have wonderful speakers there as well. And also like all the different workshops were also really kind of like fascinating. I mean, I have learned a lot of things. Of course, we did have some technological unfortunate problems, and that was of course a bit pity because I mean there was so much more what we could have done, but basically I mean I'm happy in that sense that it was a lot of new knowledge what we could create it and redefined.
Okay, and how about Jan? What would you say?
I think the event went really well. It was an incredible 2 days of packed with content, and it was amazing how much we actually managed to put into those 2 days. Hellemai, I mean, watching it from the side, you couldn't really get everything, or being inside the organizing team. But from what we've heard from feedback, it's been amazing.
Yes, only good things. A lot of things to learn and a lot of things useful things to use afterwards as well. So good contacts, everything. So yes.
Yeah, and I've also followed very closely this process and seen how, compared to let's say a physical event, I would say this is trailblazing in a way, and a lot of work, much more work I would say than for a traditional event, and all the challenges that come with it. What did you learn, Teemu, from this event?
I learned a lot. I mean, we did actually quite many things for the first time in the world here. So we actually had all of our keynote speakers recorded in green screen studios all around the world in 6 cities, so that we could immerse them into the virtual environment that we created. And we also had a showroom done with the pixel streaming technology for the first time. So we created this illusion city with parts of Helsinki and parts of Tallinn, and with futuristic elements where we had to partner showroom areas with their content, where all the participants could actually freely roam in the city and view the content. So that was also really amazing. But from the learnings, of course, when you do things for the first time, a lot of unexpected things can happen, and we of course experienced a lot of that. Nobody could expect that when we start the first day in the morning, Microsoft Azure services would be down and our event platform was relying on that. So the start was quite difficult and challenging, but we managed to recover and get everybody online to actually be part of the experience. So there has to be a lot of plan Bs and Cs. That's one of the learnings, at least. But yeah, when you have a good team, good team of people, you can do anything.
Yeah, and what would you say, Tallinn? If we have a physical event, we naturally have a lot of interaction going besides the actual presentations and keynotes and so on. Was it possible this time to network in a way that actually added value to the attendees?
Good questions. I think not. True answer, not that much, because for us it was in a way working as well. I wasn't in that much in the online in the chat room or in LinkedIn. Maybe afterwards.
Well, it's nothing can replace the real thing, but even on real events or real conferences, there's not maybe that much business card exchange going on as opposed to what's your LinkedIn profile or how can I get in touch with you online. So in that sense, I think this was all enabled here, and people who really saw something interesting, they got a contact to that person and they could immediately start chatting. So we really don't know how it worked for the community. So this is some of the feedback we'll probably be collecting over the coming days and weeks and listening to what the community says. But I think it's the tools were there. It was a first time for us all. I mean, this was a really innovative way to do a conference like this, and it's a huge learning opportunity. And who knows, maybe next time we can do a lot more than this time.
Okay, I think that now everybody's earned the right to relax now, and and I'm really grateful to have been part of this process as well, and all the best for the future. And
thank you. I want to share one more kind of story that we got actually on during the first hour of the first day. One of the participants regarding the matchmaking, that he was actually almost like banned from LinkedIn because he was making too many connections in a short period of time. So he couldn't do that anymore, and that was his challenge.
Yeah.
On this, but yeah, we don't know how much of that was going on, but we certainly look into that.
Yeah, but this was a very international event anyway, and I'm sure that everybody found something of value and interest, certainly. Okay, so thank you all, and now let's move on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
I want to mention the Lean Construction Institute's virtual LCI Congress 2020. It takes place from October 19th to October 23rd. It is a valuable event for everyone in the design and construction industry. Visit www.lcicongress.org/2020 to learn more about this virtual event and how it will help you on your lean journey. Another interesting event is actually a combination of two events, Build IT and Prop IT 2020. It is a 3-day virtual event that will focus on the strategies, technologies, and big ideas that will be essential for the construction and property industries. Presentations and panel debates will be broadcast live. Visitors can also watch the sessions on demand. Build IT and Prop IT will be held from the 26th to the 28th of October. To learn more and to register for free, visit aectech.news/buildit and aectech.news/propit.
Thanks, Aarni, and thanks again to our contributors, to Fred Mills of B1M, Gavin Crump and Lawrence Koch, and Lauri Lemmenlehti. AEC TechTV is a weekly show. The next show is already in development, but we want your ideas and suggestions, and better still, your contributions for future shows. Yes, please visit our website, email us, follow us on Twitter, or subscribe to our YouTube channel. And thank you for watching. Goodbye.
And goodbye from me.